Welcome back. You're watching Money Matters with our guest Tan Sri Abdul Wahid Omar, whom we're very pleased to have in studio with us today. In continuation of our conversation earlier, Tan Sri, let's move on first to the topic of capital gains tax and how it will be implemented next year. How do you see this benefiting Bursa? What do you see its knock-on effects?
Well, in the first place, it's great that the government provided clarity on how that's going to be implemented. Yeah. It is very clear that it will not apply to listed shares. And there are also exemptions under three circumstances. One, in respect of companies going for IPO. Mm-hmm. Secondly, in terms of companies undertaking their internal restructuring. And thirdly, in terms of gains for venture capital firms. Yeah. So I think in that way, it provided clarity. And what that means is that for many large companies that are currently still in private hands, this will give them that incentive to take the company for listing and allow public shareholding to come into their company. And hopefully, over time, there'll be more companies going for listing, if I may. Yeah. And that will help develop the capital market.
Yes. Now, as chairman of Bursa Malaysia, what measures are currently in place to ensure that Bursa Malaysia operates efficiently and transparently, especially in terms of boosting investor confidence and hopefully strengthening the ringgit?
Well, obviously, Bursa Malaysia, we play a triple role, if I may. One, as the frontline regulator. Secondly, as the marketplace, where we provide all the trading and settlement systems. And third, in terms of Bursa Malaysia being a public listed company itself. And we always operate by the highest standards of corporate governance. And I think for the marketplace, it is supported by our various listing rules, which are updated from time to time. And obviously, in recent times, we've also issued the revised framework for sustainability reporting too. Now, in terms of how we govern ourselves, in order to manage the potential or perceived conflict, our regulatory function is undertaken by a committee. We call it the Regulatory and Conflicts Committee, where it used to be chaired by me, but now it's actually chaired by someone who's actually independent. And the members of that committee, the majority are independent members, including the chairman. And as you know, we're now working towards transferring that to a regulatory subsidiary. So overall, we're very clear that we always observe the highest standards of corporate governance, both as a regulator as well as a PLC ourselves. Now, in respect of the market, so naturally, with the clear and transparent rules, we do hope that there will be more and more companies coming to the market. And being the marketplace, our role is to provide that platform for companies or businesses and investors to meet. So the idea would be for businesses of any size to come to the market to raise financing to enable them to grow.
Could you elaborate on Bursa's strategies in terms of that, specifically to attract more IPOs and to attract more foreign investments as well in our local equities?
Right. So, so back to that marketplace. So we have the LIP market, we have the ACE market, and the main market. So for smaller companies which are fledgling, so we have the LIP market, where the investors are confined to sophisticated investors. But for those companies that are ready, they'll go into the East market, where participation will be wider. And of course, for the more mature companies, there'll be that main market that they go to. So again, truly living up to our purpose of being the marketplace, this is actually where companies come to be listed, raise financing for them to be able to continue to grow. And when we talk about investors, naturally, they come, we're talking of both domestic and foreign investors, retail and institutional. So again, as wide as possible, and to make sure that those investors will have good access to our market.
Let's touch more on that, actually, in terms of foreigners buying into local equities. Unfortunately, over the past years, we've seen them selling more than 3 billion ringgit on Bursa. So what's your strategy in terms of tackling this issue and kind of wooing them back?
Right. So, obviously, foreign institutional investors, they have the benefit of moving from one market to another. So they have a choice. And indeed, in the first half of this year, we saw selling to the tune of 4.2 billion ringgit. But that trend was reversed in the third quarter, where we've seen 2.2 billion ringgit of net investments from them. Obviously, in October, circumstances have changed with continued uncertainty, especially what's happening now in the Middle East, and continued dispute with China and so on, with America. So we've seen some of them actually exiting the market. So we've seen, I think, probably about 1.7 billion ringgit of outflow in the month of October. Now, those are situational, and I think on our part, what is most important is actually for us to make sure that we put in place the infrastructure, the rules, and companies of quality for them to invest in. And this is where we believe that, with the current situation, there are some areas where there could be better improvements in terms of performance by some of our companies. So that's why last year we embarked on the PLC transformation program, providing some guidance for companies how they can improve their performance and being purpose and performance driven, for example. And the idea would be, as they improve their performance, they will become more attractive. And again, in the longer term, that's when we get the foreign investors to come in and invest in them.
It sounds like a robust framework so far, and
Indeed,
hopefully we will woo them back. Yeah. A question on the increase of SST on brokerage fees from 6 to 8%. Do you think there'll be an impact?
No, I think it's relatively small. So I don't think there'll be any disincentive for investors to trade, so to speak. Yeah. So.
And what about promoting more listings of large tech companies? Do you see that as a trend going forward?
Yes. So we promote the listing of companies of all shapes and sizes, and naturally, technology is actually one of them. So if I may, in terms of number of listings, we had some 35 companies listed last year. This year to date, we have 27 companies. That would include some companies that are involved in the technology sector and the electronics manufacturing services sector, and so on. So again, the idea would be to attract companies of all shapes and sizes, so to speak, and including technology. And of course, those companies involved in technology, they tend to get the better valuation and they're better traded.
Good to know. Thank you very much, Tan Sri. We're going for another short break. We'll have more in-depth discussions with Tan Sri Wahid Omar right here when we return. Stay tuned.